I'm your host, Landon Knight, alongside Craig Sager. And Craig, I can't believe that it is already Wednesday, but that just means we are one day closer to high school football this upcoming Friday night. We are going to be featuring the Blessed Trinity versus Hebron game, and today we will get the opportunity to hear from Kenny Dallas, the Hebron head coach, and get a little bit of insight on their program. But for now, we have breaking news from Hayden's Daily Dive on the Score ATL website. Coach John Mooring and Wayne County have mutually parted ways after an 0-5 start to the season and a 1-14 season over the past 2 years. This is the third coaching change in the GHSA this season.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. When you think about high school coaches getting let go in the middle of the season, it's going to be different than NFL coaches in college. Most of them stay at the school and have to finish out the semester teaching. Coach Mooring's a guy that was at Savannah Country Day, which is very close to Wayne County. He came over here, replaced Coach Shaw after his short stint there. So he's been familiar with the area. I think Wayne County is a talented football team. They had someone that didn't have to move far across the state. It's just an interesting time with it because when you get rid of a coach midweek, I mean, you got games coming up, and it's tough to figure out who's going to replace them. So is it the 1-4 start? Is it the poor start for Wayne County? That's why he's left, or is there someone else within the program that they want to see take over? You can learn more at scoreatl.com, but an interesting news, and that is, as you mentioned, Landon, the third coach we've seen leave in the middle of the season.
Now let's go into our fast break headlines. Our first headline, Colquitt County takes down Monroe area 45-10 to improve to 3-1 record on the season. Colquitt County was able to build an early lead in this game. They had a great performance on special teams, having a blocked punt in the third quarter, setting up a short field score. Running back Jay Lamar rushed for 116 yards, and the Packers had a pick six, a 9-yard interception returned for a touchdown by Colquitt in the first quarter. The Packers will face Rickards this upcoming Friday. So, Craig, Colquitt's defense came out early with a pick six in the game. How do you think that this just was able to set the tone for the game early on? Yeah,
you can't get off to a better start than that. I guess maybe returning the opening kickoff, but I was thinking about it. I was talking to Max and Hayden. This would be like a big basketball game where the team gets the opening tip, you immediately steal it, get a transition three. Once you get clicking like that, you know it's going to be a good night for you. And why this was an important result and fast start for Colquitt, they just played last Friday against Lee County, a nice win. It was a game where they had a huge lead early, like 31-0. Lee County tried to come back. They had to play on Tuesday. That's a short break, and now they have to play this upcoming Friday. So they're able to kind of coast to victory in this third game. But this is 3 games in 7 days, something that's unprecedented. They've already traveled up to North Gwinnett, so they have been playing at a feverish pace, but they are getting it done. They're improving. They're sparking big plays on all 3 phases, and they still look like potentially the team to beat in Region 1, which will start next week.
Moving on to headline 2, Kamari Dorsey has now named his top 9 schools. He is the #1 safety in the class of 2027, and his recruitment process is on fire right now. Dorsey is a 6'3", 190-pound player from Hampton, Georgia. And this season so far, he has recorded 10 total tackles, 3 solo tackles, 1 interception, and has 48 receiving yards. He released a graphic on Twitter announcing that his top 9 schools include Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Nebraska, Florida, LSU, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. So, Craig, at 6'3", and 190 pounds, he has great production on the offense and the defense. What kind of impact do you see Dorsey having at the next level?
Yeah, with his frame, it's interesting because he's been 6'3" since his sophomore season. He's up to almost 200 pounds now. So when he has a frame that can still pack on more weight, it adds him this versatility at the next level where he's going to be able to be physical when you're playing against the teams that like to run more. If he has to match up on a tight end, his size gives him a huge advantage. We've seen a lot of players from within the state when they narrow down their top 5 where we kind of have an inclination of where they might head at the next level. He has such a unique skill set just with his size. He has all these available schools, it's going to be interesting to see where he picks, but I really think this is one of those recruitments where it's wide open for him.
Moving on to headline 3, Banneker High School Jared Doughty rises up on recruiting boards. Doughty is a class of 26 offensive tackle coming in at 6'6" and over 300 pounds. He has picked up offers from Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, NC State, and Georgia Tech. Recently, this past weekend, he took a visit to Georgia Tech as they face Clemson. So, again, Craig, Doughty having that incredible size, being 6'6" and over 300 pounds, why do you think that these top programs are chasing him?
Yeah, and it's really coming in quickly for him. And our Alabama insiders just said that Alabama offer came this last week. What's interesting about him, we saw him play for Therrell last season. I believe he transferred over to Banneker, and he's what you wanted to see with a senior, where heading into this year, his only offer was Georgia State, but the film's not lying. He's getting it done. He has that size, and now he's absolutely blowing up. He's got the Georgia offer, Alabama pouring in, Georgia Tech, and he's really going to start to be taking his first big visits coming up here in October. So this is a guy that's been sort of on the radar, but now he's really hot in the recruitment, and he's going to be taking these visits. So it's exciting to see a senior in this last season making his hard work pay off and getting recognized for it.
Moving on to headline 4, Kell softball Lila Morici engraves her name in Longhorn record books. Lila has had quite the freshman season at Kell, aiding her team not only in pitching but also playing a very important infielder role. Prior to being in high school, she was named the Cobb County Athlete of the Week in September of 2023. Recently, Lila achieved a 2-0 record in 13 innings pitched. She allowed 0 runs and struck out 17 batters. She also leads the team in several categories, including batting average, on-base percentage, doubles, triples, and is tied for home runs. So Lila Morici is already leading Kell in multiple offensive categories while dominating on the mound. How impressive is this for this only to be her freshman season at Kell?
Yeah, it's huge. And Kell's on fire right now. They pretty much wrapped up the region last night, 11-0 win over Blessed Trinity. They sweep the season series. Kell is an outstanding softball program this year. We've highlighted a few of their pitchers this season with the no-hitters, and just seeing what Class 4 is going to look like this year in the playoffs. This 8-game win streak for Kell, they're rising up in our rankings, and they're peaking at the right time.
Moving on to headline 5, Cam Duke gets first victory as Marietta head coach and 100th victory overall. Coach Duke secured his 100th career win as a head football coach with Marietta's 52-21 victory over Wheeler on September 12th. This victory also marks Duke's inaugural win as the head coach of the Marietta Blue Devils. Marietta had a 2-8 record in the previous season, missing the playoffs for the first time since 2016. And Duke's leadership is really aiming to restore the program's competitive edge and uphold the tradition of excellence at Marietta. So, Craig, given that Marietta struggled a lot last season, how much of an impact do you think that Duke is going to be able to have on this program?
Well, they've played an incredibly tough schedule, and what's interesting, Cam Duke, he was a head coach in Florida when Marietta was scheduling these nationally powerhouse loaded schedules. That's actually what interested Marietta's administration to hire him to replace the previous coach. And so he comes in and inherits this program that usually struggles early in the season just with the difficulty of schedule. But now they get their first win to open the region against Wheeler. Wheeler's already defeated North Atlanta this season. North Atlanta was a team we saw go toe-to-toe with Hebron in the Corky Kell Classic, one of the better teams. So Wheeler, I mean, they play Walton this week. I think Wheeler has a chance to be a playoff team. It was a huge win for Marietta. They won by, I think, 4 touchdowns in that game. But for him to get his first win in region play, that's what's important to the Blue Devils, and that's going to turn their season around heading into these big matchups with Walton and North Cobb.
And Craig, let's just touch a little bit on our game of the week again. As we mentioned, it is going to be Blessed Trinity versus Hebron. And today we will have the opportunity to hear from Coach Kenny Dallas to just give us a little bit of insight on their program and kind of how their seasons look so far. What are you most looking forward to hearing from him?
Well, I want to ask him just about what significance he feels like this game has, because It's his first season with Hebron. We know last year was a competitive matchup, but when you look at the private classification, they base the playoff seedings off of the playoff rating system. So this game is going to matter into it, and a win over BT, a higher classification, would give them a really good shot at moving into that top 4, top 5 seeds. They already had that loss to McCallie, even though it's one of the top teams out of Tennessee. That's going to factor into it also. So the strength of the schedule can prepare you for the region, but these games are going to matter, and I know they want that home field to try to defend their title.
And as you just mentioned, Hebron is coming off of a loss to McCallie, and Blessed Trinity is also coming off of a loss to Milton. So I definitely think it's going to be an interesting game on Friday night. Are there any specific players that you're looking forward to seeing playing on Friday?
Yeah, we're going to hear about DJ Jacobs a lot this week and a lot on Friday night. He has lived up to the hype since his sophomore season, just being one of the most dominant defensive edge rushers in the state. He can shut down an entire side of the line of scrimmage. Hebron has had a great season running the football, and it's going to have to go right through that great Blessed Trinity defensive front.
We will be right back after this break to hear some insight from Ricky O'Connell from Inspired Landscape Solutions. Don't go anywhere.
Nobody wants to hear the word roaches, because who wants to admit they have roaches?
I actually found some weird roaches. I didn't know what they were. I decided to choose Breda. I reached out to them. They check in routinely. They're explaining what they're doing. So there's a lot of clarity in the process as well. I think that just speaks to the level of safety that I feel with the organization.
The facts are, roaches are everywhere in our environment. So what are you doing to keep them out of your home?
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell wash tickets and watch the money come in. If your flag football team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutospa.com and get started today.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career. And by Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters.
Welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and today we have Ricky O'Connell from Inspired Landscape Solutions. Ricky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so just to kind of jump into things, so Inspired Landscape Solutions works with both residential and commercial clients. Can you just talk to us a little bit about how these two groups differ?
Sure. So we've been doing this 34 years. We're probably about 50-50 residential and commercial. Residential is obviously usually a smaller scale, and for them we do full service maintenance, we do enhancements, hardscaping, those types of things. The commercial properties, much bigger scale, but the key to those is the attention to detail. So things you don't necessarily think about. Our tagline is the smallest details make the biggest difference. So on the larger properties, that makes all the difference.
And so you've also got to do some projects with schools, specifically Blessed Trinity. We just talked about them. They're a game of the week this week, and you've got to do some stuff with their field. So can you just kind of talk about what you've done at their school?
Sure. They've actually been a longtime customer. We've been doing their campus for 25 years. So we've done both projects. We do the routine maintenance. So again, during football season, that's an important time. So keeping the campus as nice looking as possible. And again, all the details as far as the maintenance. We did do an install for them of an alumni area, so their alumni can come back and watch the games from there. So that was a fun project. Just over the years, we've done so many enhancements for them.
Awesome.
And then you guys have the design phase, the installation phase, but then the long-term maintenance. Just talk about how the team is able to look at the long-term, but also create these designs to fit their needs.
Sure, so that's really what we love the most. If we can start a project from scratch, from the design aspect to implementing that design, and then once that's in, then the ongoing maintenance. And that makes us happy because then we know it's going to be maintained properly, and the customer can then have the long-term enjoyment of it.
And then when's probably the busiest time of year for you guys with the different seasons?
Really, we're about to come into it now. Fall is the #1 busy season, both from the maintenance side is leaves. That's always the most difficult time of year. And then we have projects as far as aerating and seeding. Fall annuals happen, so you get that color throughout going into the winter. And then it's also #1 planting season, so trees, shrubs, that type of thing. We also do a lot of hardscapes in the fall and outdoor kitchens. People want to enjoy their football outside, and we do fire pits, patios, those types of things, and just so people are outdoors and enjoying the weather longer.
And then what's maybe a project that you guys are proud of that you guys have been able to do over the years?
So one, and it falls into the category of what you talked about. We had a customer that saw our work, and this part was rare, but he said, I want you to just do it. Don't tell me anything about it. I trust you guys. And so from beginning to end, so that one we just totally did kind of off the cusp, and just having the vision of the house and what we did. So many aspects to it, from the sod, we did the irrigation, lighting. This customer did have a gas fire pit. We did that, and an outdoor kitchen. And it was just so much fun, and that really meant a lot to us that they trusted us and just said, do it. We'll just take a look when it's done.
And then Ricky, can you just talk to us about something that a homeowner can do, an installation project that can make an outdoor space feel brand new?
Yes, we actually get a lot of those. Some people that have been in their house a long time, what have you, and then it's just kind of feeling dated. Could do anything from revitalization of the shrubs, taking out what's been there. Sometimes they've been in there 20, 30 years, and then just doing something different. We love color. I like to get as much color throughout the year as possible. So the things we recommend will be shrubs that bloom different times a year. I like to call it like a symphony. Once one thing's finished blooming, the next set starts, and so on throughout the year.
And so you talked about this being your busy season. So how does the timing of this year affect plant choices, hardscape installations, or other landscape elements?
Well, again, it's the #1 planting season because of the temperatures that puts less stress on the plants and shrubs and the trees, that when they're planted, they can go into the winter, not have the heat stress that we normally have in our summers. And again, the plant selection, we're very good at that. We have a lot of experience. We're going to pick things that are going to work for our environment, our temperatures, and then it has all fall to get established, and then it's ready for the spring and the summer.
And then just to touch a little more on this, how do you approach each new client to make sure that this project is not only functional but also personalized for the client?
Well, that's where the pre-work meetings come into play. We'll walk the property with the customer, find out what they're really looking for as far as shrubs or hardscape or what have you, get the full idea of what they want, and then we put it together in a concept or in a sketch or design, whatever the case may be, and then just really kind of hold their hand throughout the process so they feel involved from beginning to end.
And then the name Inspired Landscape Solutions, it kind of describes what you guys are all about, but what does make you guys different?
Well, again, I chose the name just for that what we want to do is inspired landscapes. So not just run-of-the-mill, not what you're going to see down the street or what have you. So kind of unique things. We try to use different plant materials for the conditions and things, again, you're not going to see at your neighbor's house or what have you.
And then how can people that are interested find out more and meet with you guys?
So our website is inspiredlandscapesolutions.com. The office number is 580-5672. But yeah, so either call or on our website.
And then what is one quick win maintenance tip that you would recommend to customers right now that can make a big impact for them?
Well, definitely if they have warm season grasses, they want to do fall pre-emergence, and that'll help prevent weeds from coming up during the winter and into the spring. The fescue, now's a great time for doing the aeration and overseed. Again, that'll give that seed a chance to germinate and thrive during the fall and winter.
And then are there any current projects that you are working on right now that are standing out to you that you can talk about?
Let's see, right now, yes, we did a renovation in Tucker. Kind of one of the ones we talked about is a person that's been in their house 40 years and is just kind of old and dated. And so we took out all the shrubs in the front, we installed new shrubs, and then she wanted pathways and outdoor sitting areas, so we put that in as well. Did a fire pit for her, and she's just been loving it and really enjoying the outdoors much more than she had been.
What have you seen just overall with the growth in the area, all the people moving in, and just how that's helped business?
Yeah, it's really, every year it's a whole new crop of customers with the amount of people moving into the state. And landscaping's become very popular. And the real estate agents will tell you that it can really affect the cost appreciation of your house. For new construction, there's a formula that should be about 10% of the value of the house is what you should put into landscaping. So it's really also a long-term investment.
And then what does the typical day-to-day look like for you?
I like to say I do a tour of Atlanta every day, and that's, out meeting with customers, making appointments, going to the nurseries, looking to see what's available, what's looking good, and what have you. That's the other way we kind of determine what we're going to use in the landscape is what's looking good at the moment. And then, of course, then there's the office work at the end of the day.
And then what's your thought just at what we're seeing with some of these high schools, their stadiums, their venues, the importance of facilities, where you guys feel like you can be a great partnership for high schools and athletic programs?
Oh, yeah. So we do about 9 high schools in the area. I was at Buford High School last week, which was, that's in a class all by itself as far as that stadium. But it's really inviting because, football, as you know, is a very community-built event, very popular Friday nights. So to make the stadium, some campuses we've actually put in tailgate areas so that it lets the families get together before the game and do their grilling or what have you, and just kind of really improves the community.
Well, again, that was Ricky O'Connell from Inspired Landscape Solutions. Ricky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We will be right back after this break. Don't go. Welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will hear from Sandy Creek head coach, Coach Darius Smiley. Coach Smiley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank y'all for having me.
Okay, Coach Smiley, so this is your first season at Sandy Creek, and before this you coached at Central Carrollton, Noonan, and Riverside Military. Can you just talk to us a little bit about your journey and what brought you to Sandy Creek?
Actually, this is my 3rd year at Sandy Creek. Okay. So I was at Central prior to Sandy Creek, and just, the tradition, the winning culture, high-profile athletes that have come through Sandy Creek is what drew me to Sandy Creek.
Okay, and then can you just talk to us a little bit about Amari Latimer? He is on our Mr. Georgia watch list for Player of the Year. He's a 4-star running back committed to Wisconsin. Can you just talk to us about what he's meant to your team?
He's the key to everything for us offensively. As a person, he's a great kid. He's a good student in the classroom. He's a great teammate. We had our backup running back scored his first touchdown last week. Had a big run, and Amari's the first kid on the field to congratulate our backup. So he's just a good overall kid. He's a hard worker. I think that's the one thing that a lot of people don't see. They see him making all the highlights and things of that sort, but he puts in a lot of work. The unseen work is what I commend him on the most, because I think that's big for him, and that has allowed him to be successful, which has allowed our football team to be successful. So he's off to a great start. We're hoping that he can continue playing well, and we can continue opening up holes for him so that he can continue to do what he does.
Certainly, and we saw some highlights, Coach, from that LaGrange game. There's a lot of history between those two teams. You guys played them twice last season. You fell in the playoffs. You had the big win this year. I want to ask about a specific moment of that game. LaGrange, I think, was about to score. You guys had the big defensive stop, forced the safety, and then really ran away with it. What impressed you just with knowing what that game kind of represented to this season?
It's kind of hard to say we didn't, have it penciled, on our schedule. But we wanted our kids to understand, like, that was a big game as far as how our region shapes out. And we felt like our kids, they went out and played a physical style of football, which is what we preach. We had a great first half. We didn't play well in the second half, offensively or defensively, but we did enough in the first half to be able to, sustain the win. So, our hats off to Coach Napier and the LaGrange staff and their kids. They do a great job down there. And, I made the comment to them after the game, I hope that they are on the other side of the bracket so that we don't have to see them again until, hopefully the championship game, if, we're fortunate enough to make it that far. But, it was a great game. It was a playoff atmosphere. I felt like our kids, they did what we needed to do to win the football game. And, we tried not to be complacent about beating LaGrange. Our motto and our goal is to be 1-0 after every game. And we're going to continue to preach that as we continue to play throughout the course of the season.
And then, Coach, in your past 3 games, your team has only allowed 1 touchdown per game. What have you been most impressed with from your defense?
Our defense coordinator, Coach Haywood, and our defensive staff, they do a really great job of pushing our kids throughout the course of the week and the preparation that we put in. Doesn't always look the way we want it to look at practice. Like this morning, we practiced. We were working on some situations and working third downs and working our ones versus our ones, and our offense was 8 of 10 on third downs, and that was something that caused our defensive staff to kind of stop practice, and we kind of had some punishment for our defensive guys. But I think just the accountability piece of our defensive staff and holding those guys accountable for the mistakes that they make. We're able to see that show back up on Friday. That's the whole purpose of practicing, to make sure that we're locked in and we're ready to go. So when Friday comes, we try to make it to where the game is a lot easier than practice. And I feel like our defensive staff has done a great job of that.
And then, Coach, this upcoming Friday, you have a region matchup. You will be facing Trinity Christian. What has your team been capitalizing on in practice this week?
We try to just focus on us, and not necessarily the opponent that we're playing. We want to try to teach our kids to prepare and, take control of what we can control. If we can, do the little things and do the little things right, we feel like those create big things for us. And, just trying to preach to our kids that, we feel like we're the only team that can beat us. So going out and just trying to make sure that we execute our plan offensively, defensively, and special teams, just allow these guys to, try to put them in the best position possible so that they can go out and let their athletic abilities make plays and allow us to win football games.
And then in this last win against Upson Lee, Caleb Hill had a really big day passing the ball. Amari Latimer had a receiving touchdown. A lot of guys were involved. What did you just see from the balance of this offense kind of getting going midway through the season?
Just that, we have the ability to be balanced. Obviously, when we play everybody's number one goal, or at least if I'm playing us, our number one goal will be able to stop Amari. And I think we have some explosive guys that have been able to make some plays on the perimeter with our receiving crew. Our tight ends have been vital to our success early on. So, and those guys just understanding their role, knowing that, we're going to make sure we try to get the ball to Amari, 15 to 20 times, and then everybody else, having a chance to eat and make plays and do their thing when their number's called. And I think that's kind of been the key to our early success, is guys have stepped up and made plays when their number has been called. So, as long as we can do that, I feel like we will continue to be successful on the offensive side of the ball.
And then defensively, how do you think the team has done just in limiting the big plays?
That's been something that, we've really focused on. When we look back at our numbers from last season, a lot of our failures from last year came on big plays. So, our defensive staff has made it a big point to our kids on the defensive side of the ball that, we're going to give ourselves a chance to be in games if we limit the big plays. And I felt like, we gave up one this past week to Upson Lee. They had a receiver that caught a slant and took it 60 yards. But outside of that, I think we may have had one or two plays where our defense gave up that were more than 10 yards. So we're just, trying to, make that a big emphasis. And, like I said, situationally, our kids understanding on first down, we want to try to limit the offense to, no more than 3 yards and try to get off the field on third down. So we try to make sure we practice those situations in practice so that, like I said, when we get to the game, they know what to expect and they can go out and execute.
Well, Coach Smiley, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time, and good luck to your team this upcoming Friday.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
We will be right back after this break to hear from Hebron head coach Kenny Dallas. Don't go anywhere.
Customer service is everything in our industry, and one thing our clients love is when they call Breda, they get a live representative. At Breda, you get the attention you need and deserve right when you call in. Your appointment gets scheduled right then and there, and you get a specific time, no window of arrival. Our staff are your neighbors. They know what's going on in your community, and they're invested in doing it better.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting six figures.
Okay, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell wash tickets and watch the money come in. If your flag football team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutospa.com and get started today.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of battle? Will you still train like a champion in the pursuit of greatness? when you become an IBEW electrical worker. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
Welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we will hear from Hebron head coach, Coach Kenny Dallas. Coach Dallas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank y'all for having me.
And so, Coach Dallas, you have played a role in many successful programs, having 7 state championship appearances. So how do you implement this winning mentality at Hebron?
Yeah, well, first of all, they played in that last game last year, so it's not like they don't know how to get there. But every coach has their own way, and my way is very simple. There's a lot of different styles, offensively, defensively. I have 2 little words that wherever I've been, they've meant a lot to me. It's just preparation and brotherhood, and it's just preparation is hard work. We want to work harder than anybody in the state of Georgia. And then brotherhood is just love. We want to love deeper. Those guys, I just think on Friday nights, that's what those boys take with them on Friday nights. They have all of their hard work from when they were a little kid all the way up to, 16, 17, 18 years old. And then they got the guys standing next to them. Those are their brothers. And so that's what we want to invest in.
And then, Coach, you have a big game coming up this Friday night. Your team faces Blessed Trinity after having almost 3 weeks off. So where has your team's focus been in practice this week?
Yeah, I've been coaching for a long time, almost 30 years, and I've never had 2 bye weeks next to each other like this. So it was a bit of a new challenge, but it came at a right time. We've had a pretty tough non-region schedule, and so it allows you to kind of get yourself back healthy a little bit in some spots. But Blessed Trinity is an unbelievable football program. And so, but our focus always has to be on ourselves. We have zero control of what the other team can do, but we have 100% control of ourselves. And so that's what we want to do. We want to focus on ourselves.
And Coach Dallas, after the Corky Kell victory over North Atlanta, it was a lot to be proud of, but you said it was a pretty sloppy game. What have you guys just been seeing with the growth since that first game?
Yeah, really growth in every area. You got to keep in mind, when you have a new head coach and we have a new OC, we got a great OC and Mike Davis. The growth is even just all of us being together, and all of us getting to know each other. And, what is our strengths? What is our weaknesses? Even as coaches, we have those as well. And so, I think our greatest growth is all of us just, there's nothing like doing battle on Friday night in a close game to really find out who you are. And I'm a big believer in playing a tough non-region schedule, because what you want to do coming out of your non-region is you want to know the truth of who you are. What exactly are your strengths? What exactly are your weaknesses? And you learn a lot. It's fun to have those big wins, but those close ball games, you really, really do learn a lot about each other, and it prepares you for that region play and on into the playoffs.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about this offensive line. When we got to see y'all in Corky Kelly, I was really shocked by how well they're able to kind of post their will on a team that should have more depth. Just talk to me about that and the advantage that they give you.
Yeah, we're really based by 2 great seniors, Fletcher Turk and Morgan Jordan, our right tackle and our left guard. And then we also have another kid, Elijah Morrison, big young man, outstanding player at right guard. Those 3 guys return, and then we have a couple of sophomores in there, Tyler McCart and Gino Barahona. And those guys are just doing a great job. Our O-line coach, Tim Foster's done a great job coming in there, work with them. But listen, a lot of times you're a great coach because you have great players. And we got some great players up front there. Those guys are big and athletic and strong, and they work very hard every day in practice. And so real proud of those guys. And then it's always great when you can hand the ball to somebody pretty special. And we handed it to Devon Caldwell, who's about as special as it gets back behind there.
And Coach, you talked a little bit about the brotherhood in this program. So can you just talk to us about the chemistry that you've seen from your team off the field?
Yeah. You know what? I mean, a lot of this, again, coming in brand new here this year, it's about us getting to know each other. So it's about doing stuff together, like, getting away off campus. We, took the team to go spend a day together, at an arcade in a bowling alley. I had all the seniors over to my house. We've gone to a few dinners with everybody together. All of that stuff really kind of goes into it just goes into the overall chemistry of guys. Do they love each other? Do they want to be around each other? I think there's a lot to be said in high school football. The season starts in the first week of May. And if you make it to that state championship, a lot of times that's the middle of December. That's a long, long season. And so, man, if kids don't like each other, if they don't really, want to work alongside each other, at a certain point, kids can decide, I've had enough. And it's just a long season. And so I don't know, for me, I believe personally love is the greatest motivator on the planet. That comes from my belief in the Bible and belief in Scripture. I think it's a much greater motivator than hate. And so, I'm a big believer that, true warriors fight not because they hate what's in front of them, but because they love what's beside them and behind them. And so we want to try to grow that in the things that we do.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about one of the younger players, the more underrated players, in my opinion, on this team, Fred Moses, defensive lineman and tight end. Just a really, really high-end kid that's really having a lot of production this year.
You guys talked about one of those guys. You were just asking me kind of a question about some of the brotherhood piece. I just recognized Fred a week or 2 weeks ago. Look, this is a sophomore, already gotten his first offer, out of Toledo as a sophomore, and he's an outstanding young man. But I recognized him a week or two ago because I looked up and twice. Look, when you're a team that has 50 kids, our high school's only got 500. We're a AA high school. You've only got 50 kids. You get a couple of kids banged up, and now you're in the high 40s. But I looked up in practice a couple of times, and he had jumped in on our scout team and was playing scout team offensive line, giving our defense a look. To me, that kind of stuff is special. Yep, he's got incredible ability. I think he's going to play Division I football in a couple of years after high school. But, I mean, I think that's super special. It talks a lot about his character and about how he loves his teammates by jumping in there and working on scout team when nobody even asked him. But, man, as far as his overall ability, he's absolutely an incredible player defensively. In fact, we're trying to get him some more and more reps at tight end on offense because we feel like he can help us on that side of the ball as well. It speaks volumes to his ability as a player. But I wanted to mention that character piece of him because, man, I'm super proud of Fred.
Coach, you're talking about how there's nothing like getting out there on a Friday night, battling out with the other team. You guys are coming off this loss, though, to McCallie. You guys are obviously itching to get back out there. What have you seen from the team, just how they process that and their hunger to get better?
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Our first handful of games, we really outscored our opponents in the first three quarters, but kind of struggled a little bit in the fourth quarter versus Fellowship and then also versus North Atlanta. And we're fortunately to win those ball games. And so a big push kind of going into that McCallie game was really, look, they're fantastic. They're the number one ranked team in all classes in Tennessee. And I think they were ranked 50-something in the nation. So they're pretty good football team you're playing. But, a big stress for us was to finish ball games, to play 4 quarters. And so, man, they jumped out early on us. They actually picked a screen pass on the opening play, and we were down 21-0 at halftime. What I was proud of, we came back out in the second half, battled. We outscored them 8-3 in the second half, which there's no moral victories in football, so to speak. But the game ends 24-8, and just I felt like. Honestly, a team that has a lot of pride in itself winning a state championship last year, that hurts being down 21-0 at halftime. I was real proud of what they did in the second half, coming back and battling. In fact, we finished the game down inside their 5-yard line, almost, scored again. And so, I don't know, man, we go into this, we come off of the McCallie game just realizing we just have to get better in every phase. And you got to win the next snap, and you just got to keep getting better. So really, I wouldn't say the focus is on one thing necessarily, other than just being it's an opportune time to rest and recover, but also to just get better and focus on ourselves because, again, that's all we control.
Well, Coach, we are greatly looking forward to covering your game this upcoming Friday. Again, that is going to be Blessed Trinity versus Hebron Christian. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you guys for having me, and thanks for what y'all do for high school football.
We will be right back after this break to hear Hayden's top performing underclassmen's list. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We are at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and now we are going to hear from Hayden. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the players that he has put on his list as underrated players that are underclassmen for this season so far. So, Hayden, before we kind of dive into these names, just talk to us a little bit about the criteria you used when selecting who was going to be on this list.
It's just the best. This specifically are ninth graders. These are freshmen. These are freshman players. It's just really the guys who are getting a lot of playing time and are playing really well. Most of these guys, freshmen that are playing are normally going to be really high-end prospects just because those are the kind of guys that are going to get snaps early. And it's just who's having the most production, who's playing really well.
Okay, so who have you put on this list? Where do they go to school, and what position do they play?
So Jamel Davis is at the top of this list. Jamel Davis is a really good DB at Collins Hill. When you look at him, has good size, 6 foot, 160 or so. And he's put on some more weight, but he's only a freshman. He's 14 years old. Everything about him, he's really aggressive. He attacks the line of scrimmage. He attacks the run, which is really kind of not what you expect from young DBs. DBs like to play in covers. They like to get interceptions. He still has some work to do technically, but just talent-wise and everything, you look at him, this is a kid that is going to be really good moving forward. He already has an offer from Georgia State. Just a really high-end prospect.
Yeah, to think that you're a freshman starting at a school that Travis Hunter walked the hallways in, pretty impressive. Hayden, you've been covering a lot of these guys kind of before this season, but what impresses you just about what you've seen so far from them?
Someone like Landy. Landy is the best offensive line prospect to come out of middle school since I've been covering high school football in the state, which has been only 3 or 4 years, but when you look at Landy, he has the size, he has the technique. He's starting at a 2-time defending state champion in Milton, and is held his own against a 4-star prospect in Bryce Perry Wright, one of the best defensive linemen in the state, and just really kept Derek Baker pretty clean in a game where it's his first ever start. And now, as you've seen the season go on, he's gotten really comfortable, and he's just everything about him screams 5-star prospect, and one of these guys that by the time of his senior year is going to be a guy that everyone in the country knows and everybody in the country wants.
And then you got 2 quarterbacks on there. Let's talk about the first of these guys, Christian Cipher, playing for Carrollton. We know how talented that team is, the Joey King system. What have you just been impressed with him so far?
Just to go into that system and to, unlike Juju Lewis, who there wasn't really a quarterback ahead of him. They brought in a quarterback. They brought in Holtzclaw. They said, hey, we're probably going to sit you on the bench for the majority of the season. And they're really splitting time 50-50. I think Christian Cipher's getting the majority of the snaps, especially in the pass game. He has a really good arm. He's making really good decisions. Just everything about Christian is really exciting moving forward, and kind of feels like the next Juju Lewis, and feels like, if not one of the best quarterback in the country in his class, one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, we saw that big touchdown he had right before the half last week against Gainesville. Talk about Zach Parker, very interesting guy on this list who's having a tremendous impact for Cherokee, and kind of what you think his future is going to look like in high school football.
So it's interesting. He was at Rome, and I thought that Rome should have started him. It's sort of that Trevor Lawrence thing of, even if you have a great quarterback or a really good quarterback starting, you kind of need to start the guy that gives you the most upside, in my opinion. That's nothing against McPherson at Rome, but Zach Parker is one of those really high-end guys. He already has 2 or 3 offers, I think, from Middle Tennessee State, some group of 5 offers. 6 foot, 180 pounds, really strong arm, makes great decisions. And when you look at how he plays, he's really, really polished as a passer. He understands how to look off safeties, how to go through his progressions, which is really rare for this age. It's only a handful of quarterbacks I've ever seen go into 9th grade and be able to do that. Normally you're in a single read, hey, this is where you throw it, or you just check it down or you run the ball. That isn't what Zach Parker is. He's a really good quarterback.
And then we made a mistake, so bear with us, guys. Carver Columbus on Zach Watts. This is a defending championship team. What do you think he adds this year as they try to defend that title?
He brings a both physical and explosive running back to that team. I know they also have some other good running backs, some other, I believe, D1 running backs. But when you look at Zach Watts, he's just really explosive, and everything he does just adds another really hard weapon to beat for that Carver Columbus offense. This is a guy that already has a bunch of D1 offers. I believe he has an offer from the University of Georgia. I could be wrong there, but that's the kind of player he is. Just an amazing prospect. Is going to be one of those guys, sort of like we saw Jonas Walton at Central Care, where it's like, this guy's coming in as a freshman, dominating all the way through his career, and is just one of those guys that you're going to know his name throughout his entire career.
Yeah, and we've seen guys like Sammy Brown, Tyler Atkinson be able to make an impact as freshmen, but I feel like there's nothing more difficult than a freshman in high school being able to make an impact. It's more impressive than a rookie in the NFL, freshman in college. So what do you think is just so exceptional about what they are doing this season?
I mean, I think we're seeing a kind of transition from, before the 2000s, most ninth graders weren't even on the varsity team. You didn't even sniff the varsity team until you were a junior or a senior. I think we're seeing this transition of, I'm going to put the best player in, even if they make more mistakes. I'm going to put them in because they give me the higher upside, and long term, that's going to be better for this team. And if they give me the best chance to win, it doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter if they're a ninth grader. It doesn't matter if they're a 12th grader. We need the best players the best 11 players on the field on both sides of the ball every snap to be able to win games, to win championships. And I think that's what we've seen coaches come full circle on. It doesn't matter that they're a freshman. It doesn't matter that they're not as physically developed as a senior. They are the best player at the position, and they're going to help us win games.
Well, again, our game of the week that we will be featuring this upcoming Friday is going to be Blessed Trinity versus Hebron Christian. Tomorrow we will get the chance to hear from the Blessed Trinity head coach and get a little bit of insight on their program and hear how their season has been going so far. Join us back here tomorrow for more Georgia High School Sports Daily.